Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar called Top 3 Ways to Better Connect with Mobile Shoppers. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. We're honored to be joined today by Brandon Bench from the Jelly Belly Candy Company and Susie Merriweather from Mozu, who will share insights into how retailers can maximize revenue by optimizing mobile strategies. So for today's presentation, we're using the On24 platform. Right now, you should be viewing the On24 dashboard, which shows the live viewing screen. By clicking on the Questions widget on the right-hand side of the screen, you can type in questions during the presentation and press Submit. You'll also find a widget named Resources under Questions. Here you can download assets our presenters have provided. All you have to do is click on the resource and it'll automatically download. Today, you can access a white paper from Mozu and also the slide deck. We also welcome you to follow this and all other Connected Consumer Series webinars on Twitter using the CCS15 hashtag. And below here you can find the connections for Retail Touchpoints and also Mozu. So for those of you who might be new to Retail Touchpoints, here's a quick overview. We're an all-digital media company publishing a weekly email and online newsletter, daily news, special reports, and multimedia presentations. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. And we welcome input and feedback through traditional means, phone and email, and also social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Our website is www.retailtouchpoints.com. So before I introduce today's speakers, I just want to remind our audience that the live presentation is slated for approximately 40 minutes with time for questions at the end. Again, we invite our audience to submit questions in the On24 questions area as they come to mind. Our presenters have agreed to stay online following the presentation to respond to your questions. And I also want to point out just a few other housekeeping items. The webinar is being recorded, and all attendees will receive an archive link to the presentation to go back and review or share with colleagues. In addition, the slides will be posted to SlideShare. So today we're going to have an interactive Q&A with Brandon Bench and Susie Merriweather. And here are their quick bios. So Brandon Bench is the Director of E-Business at the Jelly Belly Candy Company. He has more than 15 years of experience in the e-commerce industry. Brandon specializes in coordinating development, maintenance, and tuning of e-commerce websites based on an intimate understanding of retailing coupled with usability and end-user service. Brandon's e-commerce career started at Patagonia, a privately held global leader in outdoor apparel, where he was instrumental in shaping customer service, merchandising, SEO, affiliate marketing, and usability. And we'll also speak with Susie Merriweather, Director of Product Marketing from Mozu. Susie leads the product marketing team with responsibility for translating global retail trends into product strategy for both of the company's platforms, Volusion and Mozu. She's passionate about helping B2C companies deliver great customer experiences across the entire customer lifecycle. Prior to joining Volusion, Susie was Director of Global Campaigns for Oracle's Customer Experience product portfolio, introducing the concepts of customer journeys to Oracle's global customers. Susie has more than 20 years of industry, product, and marketing experience with software companies. Prior to joining Volusion, she served at top companies such as RightNow, IBM, Clarify, Vignette, and Software AG. So first, before we get into our discussion, again, top 3 ways to better connect with mobile shoppers. We're just going to start with a few mobile facts. So first, the fact is that 85% of today's connected consumers expect a seamless mobile experience. They want to be able to access consistent product information, whether they're on the go or in the store. Also, 39% of consumers use their mobile devices to make online purchases, and 51% use their mobile device to check in-store product availability. Aligning with these numbers, we found in a recent study by Retail Touchpoints in our omnichannel study that 70% of retailers reported increased revenue from their mobile sites, and 54% have reported increased revenue from their mobile apps in 2014. Yet only 31% of retailers today consider themselves omnichannel integrated, according to a recent retailer and consumer study from Mozu. But retailers acknowledge that multi-channel customers are more profitable than single-channel customers, as we found in our omnichannel study. 45% said they're up to 50% more profitable. So this omnichannel disconnect is a challenge retailers must address to be successful moving forward. So now let's hear from our panelists about these topics and trends. Susie, can you talk a little bit about the challenges of providing a truly responsive shopping experience?
Hi, Debbie. Yes, thanks. I can. And I agree with you. We're all addicted to our smartphones and tablets. And we all expect to be able to shop on our smartphones or tablets just like we shop from our PC today. For example, we expect the experience to be fast. We expect to easily search for what we want. And we want easy checkout. And I think people only buy from retailers if it's easy and even fun. And a bad mobile experience, well, it's just not fun, and it reflects badly on the retailer's brand. So it's a given that today's shopping journey is a multi-channel shopping device journey. I start my search on one device and then use another to browse and then another to buy. And what I've seen is retailers are responding to this, but some retailers are just making the changes in the easy places, like home pages or category pages. Those that might be optimized for mobile, but the other pages aren't. And shame on them because, well, that's just not enough. Every page and every interaction needs to be consistent across all devices. And furthermore, I should be able to add an item to my shopping cart on one device and have it show up when I go to that site from another device. And until now, doing this has been a very manual process for retailers. They've been managing content differently on different devices, and keeping them in sync and consistent has been very difficult. Any e-commerce platform you use should make it very easy for you to do this. You should be able to deliver great shopping experiences across all devices. So for example, ask yourself, does your e-commerce platform make it easy for you to create a site one time and have it immediately available and consistent on every device of every size? Can you use a single admin console to make the changes and have them display? Can you set up product faceting and search and have it work automatically on every device of every size? Can you set up promotions and discounts and have it work automatically on every device of every size? And does it support persistent shopping carts across all devices? We'll talk a little bit about Mozu, which was architected to meet this need with responsive at its core so that you automatically get a consistent experience across all devices with no extra effort.
Terrific. Thanks so much for that overview, Susie. Now let's ask Brandon if he can fill us in a little bit on can you talk, Brandon, a little bit about your experience providing a mobile shopping journey at Jelly Belly?
Sure. Thank you very much. When I started with Jelly Belly 3 years ago, we did have a mobile site. Unfortunately, that site was broken and it seemed like nobody had noticed. So you could get to that site, but the product images wouldn't show, you couldn't add to the cart, and there wasn't any other content available. If you look at the left side of the slide that I'm showing now, that was the original mobile site when I showed up. So I went looking for a new vendor, as you can imagine, and I needed it to be quick and easy to set up. So I found one. We got the very basics of what we needed, but it really wasn't a great experience. The mobile products and the content were decoupled from the desktop version. Some of the promotions wouldn't work in both versions, and we had to maintain everything separately. It was really clunky for the consumers, too, because information that they wanted wasn't available through the mobile site. And while obviously it was an upgrade over the previous experience, and it did provide incremental revenue, when you added all the fees up, we were giving back over 11% of the revenue per order right off the top. And that's not counting any promotional discounts that we offered. So when we had the opportunity to re-platform, we were very excited to see Mozu. And we now have a responsive site, which allows us to serve our mobile customers so much better without added cost. So that was an important consideration for me. And because it's leveraging the Akamai CDN, it's very fast on desktop. We dropped about 50% off the page load speed for the home page in recent testing. And it's pretty fast on mobile. We just launched last November, so of course we're still learning. But it's really nice to build out one set of creative or one piece of functionality and have that translate from desktop to mobile What that means is that the consumers who interact with us in both environments don't have to relearn the site when they switch, so they can use a multi-device approach, and all the products and the content are available.
That's great, Brandon. Thanks so much, and you really have some impressive results just from your initial implementation. 50% off the page load time is pretty impressive, and I'm sure that that's delivering some increased sales and revenue. So back to Susie for a second. Let's talk about communications in the mobile world. So what do you think is the biggest challenge when we're talking about communicating with our shoppers? Susie, if you're on mute, you should unmute.
Right. Thank you, Debbie. I was on mute. I think the communications, email marketing is so easy. And I don't know about you guys, but I now have the fake email that I register for all my emails to because I'm just tired of getting so many emails. And I think the challenge for retailers today is personalized communications. And I know a lot of people are talking about it, but few do it. And I think the retailers who figure this out will amaze and engage their customers and make them loyal over time. And I think, and what I don't see happening is retailers taking the first step to break customers into their segments. First and simplest is male, female, or current customer or unknown customer. And then they can grow to customer lifetime value. And then once you have this information, I think the goal retailers need to focus on personalizing the shopping path. As a shopper, I really appreciate retailers who track my lifetime value, and that should be easy for any e-commerce system to track. Then with that data, if I'm a new visitor to the site, you offer me the first-time visitor discount, and I have to admit, I like those, right? They get me hooked in, and I'll see what you have to offer. But then as I build a relationship with a retailer, I want them to know me, know my lifetime value, and I actually expect bigger and deeper discounts because I think I'm a valuable customer. And then taking this back to mobile, these offers, these discounts, this personalization, I have to get the same offers and discounts on mobile devices as my PC. You can't set up a different journey and a different promotion stream for me on a PC versus a mobile device. Over to you, Debbie.
All right, terrific. Thank you. Let's go back to Brandon for a second. Brandon, can you talk about this type of experience and how you've implemented it at Jelly Belly?
Well, I have to admit that we're really still in the nascent stages. We love the fact that Mozu makes it easy for us to segment on lifetime value, and we certainly plan to offer rewards based on that factor. For the time being, we're using a partner that provides personalized offers based on visitor behavior and click path behavior and, of course, a segmenting algorithm. In the future, we'll certainly do a better job of showing appropriate creative based on even better segmentation. But, it's an area of improvement for everybody. We're no different in that respect. Thankfully, we've got the tools available to us as we grow.
All right, terrific. All right, thanks for that explanation. So at this point, it's interesting. We've established certainly that mobile is key. Personalized communications with our shoppers is key. It really boils down to engaging the customer. For example, being proactive versus reactive when it comes to customer convenience. So, Susie, what do you think the biggest challenges is here when we're talking about providing customer convenience?
So let's first talk about convenience and what needs to be provided, because the technology underpinnings exist. I think it's the business interest in doing it. So in today's highly connected, highly social world, convenience is key. We've talked a little bit about mobile, but there's some other areas that I think are key in the differentiation going forward, and retailers need to look at it. And one area is inventory and inventory location. So a real live example, I was shopping for a dress for my sister's wedding and I found one I liked. I sent her a link to look at it and she loved it. And when I went back the next day to buy it, it was out of stock. They no longer had my size. And had I known there was only one left in my size, I would have bought it when I first saw it. So making inventory available, I think, is key, and and it'll also help convert more. It'll give me a sense of urgency. And in addition to sharing inventory levels, I love it when retailers show me the closest store with the item in stock. Sometimes you just want it immediately. You know, drone delivery is not quite here yet, so I might want it immediately. There are some things I want to touch and feel before buying it. So I think having, being able to show me where a store close to me has the product is key. And then that leads me to a second area of convenience, is linking the online to the in-store experience. So when I do find a store near me with the items and that they offer, like I could buy online and pick up in store, when I go to the store, I now expect the sales associate to know all about me, my lifetime value, and to help me figure out what products meet my needs. So it's blended, it's the inventory, it's finding it, and then it's the ability to either buy online or pick up in store. That's one big area of convenience that I believe retailers need to address. The last area of convenience, I think, is the checkout page. So every site has a checkout page, and you know when you're on a good, simple, easy checkout page. It's simple, it's painless. I think a lot of retailers have neglected design and optimizing that page, and it's time for everyone to completely rethink the checkout page. It's all about speed and simplicity. And I go to sites where I'm like, they haven't looked at this site since their e-commerce page went live 5 years ago, and I wonder if their sales are suffering. Personally, I won't complete a transaction if the checkout is an awkward, multi-page monster.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Susie. And we're all consumers, and we know that if it's going to take us too long, be too confusing, take too many clicks or too much time, we're probably going to abandon that purchase and go somewhere else. So very good point. So at Jelly Belly, Brandon, can you talk about some of these things in relation to Jelly Belly, how you approach the customer convenience at Jelly Belly?
Oh, absolutely. Customer convenience is definitely a key consideration for us. We know that our mobile customers certainly don't at that moment really care so much about the history of the company or viewing our latest ad. Of course, if they want to, they certainly can. They can go to the desktop site and learn about the 100 different kinds of candies that we make, or the fact that we've been in business for over 100 years. But what they really want to do is purchase our products. Those mobile consumers want to search. They want to make a quick purchase, whether it's on our site or find a local store that stocks what they need because they're in a hurry. We're not really an omni-channel company because we don't have very many of our own stores. However, we have literally thousands of retailers, and so we've done a lot of work to get our store locator up to snuff for those mobile customers. It's fully responsive, it's geolocation enabled, which removes the need to type on a tiny keyboard before you get any results. You pull up the store locator, it knows where you are, and you get a list of results immediately. Of course, you are certainly welcome to type on your tiny keyboard if you need to see a different location. And we've also arranged filters, which unfortunately you can't see on this screenshot, but we do have filters that allow consumers to narrow down the results to stores that carry their favorite Jelly Belly candy. We also really believe in the value of a quick and easy checkout process, both for the mobile and both for the desktop and the mobile consumer. And when I showed up at Jelly Belly, our checkout process was, if I'm generous, 5 pages. So we did a lot of work to come up with a streamlined checkout. I'm astounded at the way our mobile and tablet conversion rates have jumped since the move to the Mozu platform. So revenue from tablet users, for example, has grown about 26% in the last 2 months, and mobile went from being really just about nothing to very solid, on par with tablet. And while the tablet numbers are respectable, the mobile numbers are really outstanding. So our mobile transactions grew 240%, and our revenue grew 300%. Now this is with a responsive design site compared to the previous iteration of an M-Dot. So 240% up in transactions, 300% up in revenue. Any way you slice it, that's an amazing achievement. I'm really happy about it. And we have a true one-page checkout. We firmly believe that that contributes to our conversion success. So in short, we've seen a very strong shift from desktop to mobile, with tablet picking up a little ground along the way. And we feel that that trend is going to continue. All signs point to it. Everything from our own data to research papers to news articles, it all points that direction. So we need to make sure that we're prepared to meet our customers on their own terms. Realistically, that means mobile.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with those statistics and those increases. So it's very impressive what you guys have been able to accomplish. So, Susie, I think you're going to give us a quick overview of the Mozu platform that Brandon was just talking about.
Yes, absolutely, Brendan. Those numbers are really exciting. You guys must be really pumped and happy with that you made the shift from a homegrown system to a platform. So I'm really excited to talk about Mozu. We're the most modern and agile SaaS cloud e-commerce platform in the marketplace. So we're really focused on delivering the e-commerce that your business needs today, yet providing the platform so that you can focus on growing your business. With legacy or homegrown systems, such as Brendan was talking about before, that he saw when he started at Jelly Belly, he was spending a lot of time grappling with technology and trends rather than focused on driving the business. And Mozu has provided him all the core capabilities he needs so he can focus on differentiation. Mozu, I look at it in kind of three buckets. First of all, Mozu is the only commerce platform that truly empowers your market team. With responsive at its core, the marketing team sets up the site, the promotions, the content, the search, one time, one place, and it works on devices of all sizes. They have a single admin or console that they do it on, so they're not having to learn multiple applications. And in addition to supporting a single site, we have our catalog could support multiple sites. So if Brendan wanted to have a different Jelly Belly site, not one where all brands were there, but maybe a Disney Jelly Belly site or other ones, he could support it from a single catalog, and then all the multiple sites are managed by Mozu. Then we also, for innovation, and we really empower our development teams to develop on top of Mozu and extend the platform to make each brand unique and individual. As the market has grown, there are so many interesting ways that different brands want to have the website experience. We enable that within Mozu. So when you talk to developers who have used Mozu, they say it's the easiest, most powerful e-commerce platform they've worked with. And all of that from a vendor, we've been around for 15 years. We have a legacy with the Volusion platform that we developed in 1999, and we've been providing e-commerce since then. We've been PCI Level 1 compliant since PCI started, which no one else can claim. And we really focus on site speed and site security so retailers like Brendan, don't have to do that. So
all right, here's just yep, okay, sure. Yep, here's a slide that just shows a little bit about how to contact Mozu. You can find out more information at mozu.com. And I just want to remind our attendees that, again, you can submit a question if you have a question for Brandon or Susie. And if we don't get to everybody's questions, we'll have those saved, and Brandon and Susie could reach out to you afterwards. Also, you can download resources in the Resource Center, so please feel free to do that as well. So we have some questions that have come in for both Susie and Brandon. And I think that what I'd like to do is start with Brandon and ask you, if you could just go back to kind of filling us in a little bit more about, you're looking at a homegrown commerce platform, and what were the key motivators to moving off of that platform?
Oh goodness. Well, I guess we can start with the fact that Jelly Belly is based in a market that's very competitive when it comes to developer resources. So we're just north of San Francisco. San Francisco and Silicon Valley are not too far away. So we're competing for talent with Google and Apple and Levi's and Gap and a host of other smaller companies that do any of a number of amazing things in this area. Once you get past that, in a general sense, I suppose you can boil it down to scale. We simply couldn't move fast enough on our own. So we, like everybody else, have a ton of projects that need to get done. And with Mozu's API-based structure, I can have my few on-site developers building out the business rules and the logic that makes our business, special, and plug that into a platform that handles the other 80 to 90% of what we need. The API-based structure is amazing and great to work with for my team, and I certainly love the idea of being able to run multiple sites from a single unified admin. As mentioned, we do have other projects in the pipeline, and I want to be able to work with them from a single product catalog and a single promotions engine and drive all the business from one place and keep tabs on everything. So to go back to a homegrown system would be very difficult at this point now that I have these tools at my disposal. And of course, I'm in constant contact with Mozu and asking for the things that I need to continue to run my business now and in the future. And I love the fact that they're willing to have the conversations with me. So I wouldn't go back.
All right, excellent. So can you just talk a little bit about the process of moving from your old site to a responsive site? What were the challenges there, and do you have any particular advice for any retailers who are looking to make that move?
Well, I wouldn't say that it was significantly harder than moving our old site to any other new platform would have been. You still have to do the heavy lifting to pull your data, port it over, make sure that your templates or themes for your front-end content all gets rebuilt in the new platform. It's just a different development methodology. Responsive is still reasonably new, I suppose, but it certainly helped to have a solid development partner. We retained an outside firm to support our in-house developers, and we continue to use them. And it wasn't necessarily easy, but no effort to re-platform ever is, and it absolutely has been worth the effort. Our traffic, transaction, and revenue numbers paint a pretty solid picture that this was absolutely the right way to go.
And real quick, what was the project timeline like?
Well, we were on a very compressed timeline. We had a self-imposed hard stop, and so once we actually got all the requirements, once we got the requirements outlined and we got into the actual work with our development partners and with Mozu, it was roughly 4 months from start of development to launch. And the site's been incredibly stable since then. Now, we had to make some hard choices along the way. And we launched with all of our gotta-haves and some of our nice-to-haves. We still have enhancements that we want to make. And so we're constantly working through those. But I think that's just the pace of business. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. So I think that 4 months was incredibly aggressive, but we managed to hit it. I think we probably will, always in this type of work, more time is better, but you've got to draw a line in the sand at some point. So if we'd had 6 months, it would have been more comfortable, certainly, but I'm really, really happy with what we accomplished in 4 months.
All right, excellent. Susie, I want to switch back to you, and we have a question. One of our attendees wants to know if you can share any success stories, case study examples in relation to mass merchants like Walmart or Sam's Club or Costco.
Right, Debbie, great question. Walmart and Sam's is not a customer. I wish they were, but we do have a customer called tons of, which sells, well, they have almost 2 million SKUs based on Mozu. So they have everything from hair dryers to wind turbines. They were an Internet Retail Top 500 named Tool King, running on a legacy platform, and they were rebranding themselves because they really, really wanted to expand the assortment of merchandise they offer. So they built their new site, their new brand on Mozu because of the scalability to support. We have load tested it for over 20 million SKUs. No one's quite there yet, but we've load tested and we know we can support it. And with the built-in faceted search, it's very easy to find the product you want out of that entire set of products.
All right, excellent. So sticking with Susie for another question or two. So let's talk a little bit. Here's a question someone wants to know how Mozu supports site on different devices.
All right, so Mozu, as I said, is probably the most modern e-commerce platform out there. And most of the e-commerce platforms in existence were architected before the iPhone came along. If you looked at when other common e-commerce platforms were released, they were either designed or released before the iPhone completely changed the way we shop. Mozu has been in development for the last 2 years, and we said our key design paradigm is supporting devices of any size. So we make that's in the core of the product, which enables a marketing person to set up a site and it works on every device. Now, key to that is the design has to be done so that it supports the responsive paradigm, right? And there is some design magic behind that, but once you have that design in place, we recognize what device is hitting the site and feed up the site content optimized for that device.
All right,
so we
terrific.
take care
Thank
of
you.
a lot
Thank
of,
you.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, say that again? No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, we take care of a lot of heavy lifting so retailers don't have to, and we really, I think the retail world for people like Brendan to manage has become so complex that we want to simplify their life by reducing the number of applications they have to deal with in their whole ecosystem, because there are ERP, there's OMS, there's so many. In the world of e-commerce, we think we can simplify their life.
All right, terrific. So Brandon, a question for you. One of our attendees, said they've tested out your one-page mobile checkout. They like it a lot. Is it a responsive version of your desktop checkout?
It is, and
okay.
As I mentioned earlier, when I showed up, we had a 5-page checkout process, which is simply untenable. It's not good on desktop, certainly, and it just doesn't work on mobile. And so what we have is not entirely out of the box. So in our previous site, we had worked hard to come up with a one-page checkout, and we saw a great boost to our conversion rate when we did that. And then when we moved to Mozu, we had the opportunity to refine it further. So with input from the UX team at Mozu and our development partners, we came up with the current checkout, and we feel that it has a good flow, and it meets the needs for our specific business. So we're, on mobile, people don't have a lot of time. They don't sit down with a mobile device when they plan to do some dedicated browsing. They sit down when they've got a task that they want to accomplish, and they want to accomplish it quickly. So everything that we can do to move them through the funnel from finding their product to checking out and getting on their way, the more we can speed that up, the fewer clicks that we introduce, the better.
And I think that you have some pretty impressive statistics from the last few months regarding conversion rate on mobile and also transactions completed on mobile. You had some pretty significant increases. Is that correct?
We did. As I said earlier, our mobile revenue was up about 300%. Our our tablet revenue was up 26%, and I think just about any marketer or business owner will tell you, or channel owner will tell you, that a 26% increase in a particular channel is very welcome. We'll take it all day long. So revenue for my online channel has grown by roughly 20% this year, and we attribute a lot of that to the move to Mozu, the fact that our pages serve faster based on the Akamai CDN, the fact that we're responsive, and that people who log in with their account can actually move from desktop to mobile to tablet and see all the same items in their shopping cart. So we find all that to be very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. All right, terrific. So Susie, we have a question about, so we're talking about checkout. One of our attendees wants to know, that they're interested in streamlining their own checkout page. Is there a template that Mozu has available for streamlined checkout, or how do I go about making that happen?
Great question, Debbie. So Mozu has 2 reference templates that we give our customers as starting points if they want to use them. Because we believe very much that design is one of the key differentiators, so we want to give people a good starting point. Within those 2 reference templates, we do have 2 different checkout processes, which we believe are streamlined. So they're welcome to use that out of the box, or with our development tools, it's very easy to develop a unique checkout page that fits their brand experience.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So Brandon, one of our attendees wants to know about any kind of updates or customizations or new features that you're looking for. And I know that's something that you were talking about a little bit earlier. There's still some things that you'd like to do. Can you expand on that a little bit? Are there any specific features that you're looking to add sooner rather than later?
Well, I mentioned that our business is special. So I can tell you that a clothing retailer or a jewelry retailer isn't worried when warm weather hits, but we make candy, and some of the things that we make can melt if left in a truck or on a doorstep over a weekend in any of the lower states, certainly. So we have what we call heat-sensitive logic, which means that those items which are chocolate or gummy or a few other things that are heat-sensitive, they need to be identified as such, and we have background logic that allows us to do what we call cold packing of those products. So they go into a special bag in their box in order to keep the heat out and keep the candy as fresh as possible. So what we need to do is we need to have a piece of logic that allows us to flag those appropriate products, and as they go through the process of being picked, packed, and shipped, be identified and be put in a cold pack before being shipped out. So if you start thinking about the logistics of doing that, it starts to get a little bit complex, especially since we require expedited shipping because, again, if somebody ships with ground, it can be 5 business days, but those business days might be over a weekend or even over a 3-day weekend. And you're going to get a solid mass of chocolate instead of distinct malted milk balls, for instance. So that's one piece of business logic. We also do corporate gifting. So if somebody wants to send 50 gift boxes, each one to a different address, we need to be able to handle that sort of scenario. And so that's another piece that we're working on at this point.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Yeah, sounds like there are a lot of good things to come. And I know you can't do everything at once. So, Susie, we've been talking a little bit about site speed and how it impacts conversions. Can you share just a few details about how the Mozu platform ensures that sites on all devices are delivered quickly?
Yeah, I can. I'll break it into two pieces. So we've architected Mozu so that when you refresh a page that you're looking at, the whole page is not sent over the network, only the parts, the components that would have changed based on your view or your search. So that improves speed. And then packaged standard with Mozu is a CDN, and we focus heavily on optimizing delivery time across globally on delivering the websites over the CDN so that it's very fast.
All right, terrific. So I have a question I'd like both Brandon and Susie to address just as we're getting ready to wrap up shortly. And just a couple of things. Do you have any key takeaways, lessons learned from this type of implementation that you'd like to share with other retailers who are thinking about going into this? And also, when you're looking for a platform provider partner, what are some of the best questions that you need to ask to make sure you're going to end up with the most productive partnership? So Brandon, Susie, I'm not sure who wants to jump on that one first.
Well, I'll go ahead and jump in. So let's see. What do you want to do to make sure an implementation like this works? Make sure that your business requirements document is detailed down to the nth degree. So to make a partnership work, it takes open communication, whether you're talking about a professional or personal relationship. And the funny thing is that I went looking for a business partner, and sappy as it sounds, I really like working with the Mozu team, and I feel like on some level we've developed a personal relationship as well. But that means that we need to be in constant communication. So we have a technical account manager who is absolutely our eyes and ears within Mozu. And when things, when we have questions or when we're exploring something, that person is very, very helpful for us. But up front, to get an implementation like this done and have it be satisfactory for both sides so that nobody comes out the other side saying, well, you didn't tell me this or I didn't know that, get the business requirements doc detailed down to the nth degree. I know it sounds incredibly basic. That's probably because it is, but that doesn't make it any less necessary.
All right, terrific. Before Susie addresses this, we do have another question from one of our attendees for you, Brandon, that I thought maybe you could address before we go to Susie on that last question. And she just wanted to know, were there any unexpected issues that you ran into when you were integrating into the Mozu platform? And if you could address any features that you were looking for that you weren't able to find?
Of course there were issues. There's no such thing as a perfect integration. From my perspective, it's a matter of how your partner handles whatever it is that comes up. I mean, we try so hard to answer every question before the question's even asked, and we can't always get it right. So, of course, we had issues. I already mentioned that we had a compressed timeline. We know that Mozu is a reasonably new platform, but it's backed by 15 years of Volusion. There are some very, very smart people over at Mozu that I'm really happy to work with. And so we had one issue where we use UPS as our shipper, and so I put into the business requirements document that we needed to have UPS shipping options. Fine, that's easy enough. They've got an integration with UPS. That's all set. And we started working within the admin and testing the platform as we had developed it. And we found that one of the service levels, which is UPS SurePost, that we use a lot, something like 65 to 70% of our orders ship out with SurePost, which is actually a hybrid of UPS. So they take the package and they run it through their network all the way up until basically last mile, and then they hand it off to your local postal service for the actual delivery. So it maybe adds 1 day to the delivery time, but it significantly reduces the cost for the consumer, so it's very popular. And we found that SurePost was not actually an option. So when Mozu had had set things up with UPS. They hadn't set up SurePost. So we let our folks at Mozu know, and they worked very hard and very fast to amend the agreement with UPS and get SurePost into the fold, basically, and then integrate that into the admin and into all of the other configurations where it would be important for us to have it accessible. And we managed to launch with SurePost, which we launched just prior to the holiday season. And so, of course, our volume of orders, transactions was at its peak. And so it was critical that we had that piece. So, that's one example of something that I thought by saying we use UPS, we've got to have UPS, and them saying, yes, UPS is available. I thought we were covered, but I failed to get down to the nth degree on my BRD. Thankfully, working together, we got it cleaned up.
All right, terrific. Great example. Thank you so much. So Susie, kind of jumping off of that, can you talk a little bit about, any kind of lessons learned or best practices with some of the retailers that you've worked with, and any suggestions you have for when you're looking for a partner? What are some of the key questions you should ask?
Okay, great. Well, first and foremost, when you're thinking about moving off a legacy or a homegrown platform, you need to be really brutally honest, I think, at what your internal team is capable of. And I really liked Brendan's approach where he used his team, but he supplemented his team with a service provider that added skills and could accelerate his calendar. I've seen a couple companies that go, gosh golly, this isn't hard. We can do it all ourselves. We're going to get it up in a couple weeks. And you know what? That's really pretty unreasonable because the devil's in the details, as Brendan just mentioned, the UPS example, and it's going to be harder than you think. So be brutally honest about your team. You probably have a fantastic team, but this is a major project that you want to get done. The end result's worth it, but you need to make sure you've got the right players on the team. So, Brendan's comment on the details and a really specific BRD is important, and he can talk much more about that than I can. The other thing, when you're looking at moving, and I really encourage everybody to dig under the covers and look at the technology stack that the platform is built on. The market's moving so fast. What worked last year isn't going to work next year. Customers are changing expectations. There's new device sizes coming out every day. If you have or are looking at a platform that was built a long time ago and doesn't have a modern technology stack, and they kind of are using bubblegum and baling wire to bolt on modules that support responsive, that support all these social and all these different elements, you know what? They're not going to be able to support you when the next new thing that shifts the market comes along next year or the year after. So really look under the covers.
All right, terrific. I think that was a great response and gave our attendees a lot to think about when they're thinking about moving in this direction. Again, I just want to remind our attendees that if you had a question that wasn't answered, they can follow up afterwards. You'll also be getting an email with the link to the presentation, but you can download it here as well before we conclude. So once again, Brandon and Susie, thank you so much. I think it was a great conversation. I think you shared a lot of great information, and I'm sure that our attendees are going back to their offices or next door to their next office with some terrific actionable ideas and information. So thanks again to both of you. Thanks to our attendees, and I just want to let everyone know there's another session in the Connected Consumer series starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today called 5 Steps to Implementing Endless Aisle Technology. Again, it starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today. You still have time to join that presentation as well. So with that, I'll thank everyone once again and ask you to enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.